Now, with us only being a couple of days away from the release of version 2.7, it means the wait is almost over for the release of Galbrena, which I suspect a lot of players will be considering to pick up either due to her damage potential or her clean-looking DMC-inspired design. As usual, we do have an early preview for the full kit and signature weapon, which should provide some insight into what we can expect from Galbrena when she does release. So with that, I'll be going through and breaking down her full kit, the value her signature weapon holds, then I'll be wrapping it up with Galbrena's overall value and whether or not you should consider her for your account. Again, I do have a bunch of codes to give away that provide some asteroids alongside a few other rewards to those that do comment down their favorite WuWa character. But do bear in mind, I will likely pick those that I can see are subscribed, and I would really appreciate it if you can keep an eye out for my response to your comments. Also, as usual, do drop a like for more WutheringWaves content and if you enjoyed the video. Jumping straight into this with the fact Galbrena is going to be a fusion dual pistol main DPS, which is expected to deal significant damage but will primarily deal heavy attack damage and echo skill damage. So with that, it means there will of course be a few specific compositions she will thrive in, but at this stage would still have great versatility due to the amount of fusion characters available. Additionally, her playstyle is definitely one of the more satisfying and safer playstyles out there, since she does deal quite a few attacks from range, alongside having the ability to essentially stagnate enemies during her more powerful attacks. So with that so far, we can say for sure Galbrena is going to be a phenomenal main DPS that should be capable of dealing incredible damage, which makes her a solid resonator to consider for your account due to various reasons. Now with the actual mechanics of Galbrena's kit, by default she will enter the threshold state and similar to Augusta will be capable of accumulating two different sets of points to her forte gauge. Sinflame stacks will be more conventional since Galbrena can hold up to a max of 100 points and can accumulate Sinflame stacks through multiple abilities, such as basic attacks, heavy attacks, the standard resonance skill, and the intro skill. Once accumulating max stacks of Sinflame, the standard resonance skill will switch into the enhanced resonance skill as Scent of Malice, which will deal damage considered as heavy attack damage, but more importantly will allow Galbrena to enter the demon hypostasis state. Now whilst in the secondary state, Galbrena will gain access to quite a few new abilities alongside her Sinflame stacks being converted into stacks of Purging Flame, which will provide Galbrena with the opportunity to use her new abilities at the cost of Purging Flame. So a bit similar to Iuno, where there is one state that accumulates stacks for the forte gauge, then there's a secondary state that consumes those stacks in exchange for dealing significant damage. Though this time round, with the fact Galbrena is a dedicated main DPS whilst Iuno is more of a sub DPS, it means we can definitely expect an insane performance and much greater DPS from Galbrena. Now it goes without saying that the abilities Galbrena unlocks within the demon hypostasis state will deal damage considered as both heavy attack damage and echo skill damage, but for the most part they will predominantly deal heavy attack damage, which is going to be great for Galbrena's versatility, considering there are various sub DPS characters that are capable of amplifying heavy attack damage through their outro skill. Although with that being said, you would still be more inclined to slot Galbrena alongside characters that do deal multiple instances of echo skill damage. The reason being would be due to the second set of points she obtains in her gauge known as Afterflame, which in specific can only be obtained whenever a resonator in the team casts an echo skill. A total of 40 points of Afterflame can be held, and each echo skill that is cast will provide 8 points, which means 5 echo skills in total will need to be activated in order for Galbrena to reach max stacks. As for why you may want to reach max stacks of Afterflame, whilst in a demon hypostasis state, each point of Afterflame will increase the damage dealt of those new abilities by 1.5%, which essentially means those abilities that are expected to deal solid base damage will be able to deal 60% more damage with max Afterflame stacks, and upon consuming all stacks, the demon hypostasis state will end and Galbrena will revert back into the threshold state. So with that, and considering the fact Phrolova, Cantarella, and Roccia are the only characters able to deal multiple instances of echo skill damage, with of course Qiuyuan almost certainly dealing multiple instances of echo skill damage as well, as it is hinted from the Law of Harmony set, it means the echo skill damage composition would allow Galbrena to utilize the Afterflame mechanic at max potential. However, given any other team can pop 3 echo skills at the bare minimum, it does mean Galbrena's secondary state abilities will still receive a considerable 36% damage bonus at the very least. So it's not as if Galbrena will be completely missing out on the damage bonus and should still work fine alongside many other characters. But again, she will of course synergize the most with characters that deal multiple instances of echo skill damage to enable her to deal the most damage possible. Now in addition, Galbrena will have a few unique effects within her Forte circuit, such as the Hellstride ability, which allows her to deal a fixed amount of fusion damage considered as basic attack damage and isn't affected by any buffs. Though the unique aspect of this ability is that it can be activated after triggering a successful dodge, allowing for Galbrena to constantly deal damage when not actually attacking, though it can't be cast consecutively. Alongside that, there is also the Burning Drive effect, which essentially provides a 20% attack bonus to Galbrena whenever casting the intro skill, basic attacks, or the resonant skill. The duration of the buff is 4 seconds, but of course with how easy it will be to obtain the buff, it can be considered as a 20% attack bonus that Galbrena will pretty much have access to for majority of the battle. In addition to that, there is also the inherent skill, which will provide a stack of Fated End when dealing various skills and can accumulate a max of 4 stacks, ultimately leading to Galbrena's damage from pretty much every ability being amplified by a max of 20%. Then to top it off with the Resonance Liberation, it would of course be expected to deal a massive amount of damage, but alongside that will actually provide an 85% damage multiplier increase. Now the damage increase will be applicable to every ability within the secondary state, allowing for even more damage to be dealt when paired alongside the 20% attack bonus from the Forte circuit and 20% damage amplification from the inherent skill. So with all of that considered, it's fair to say Galbrena will be able to buff her own damage significantly, enough to the point where she does have potential to be one of the strongest damage dealers in the game, but of course that will majorly depend on the exact multipliers she is given for her abilities. Moving on to the value the signature weapon holds, before anything, as usual, if you're intending to utilize Galbrena long term as one of your main DPS characters, or if you simply want to use Galbrena at max potential and deal the most damage, then the signature weapon would of course be worth considering alongside Galbrena herself. The Lux and Umbra will provide a solid 48% crit damage bonus through the main stats and a 12% attack bonus as standard through the passive, alongside gaining a 24% heavy attack damage amplification for 6 seconds whenever dealing echo skill damage. Upon dealing heavy attack damage, Galbrena will receive a 24% echo skill damage amplification for 6 seconds, and whilst both effects are active, dealing damage will in fact ignore 8% of the target's defense. So not only will the weapon provide both effects Galbrena desires most, but similar to more recent weapons will provide a significant boost in DPS due to ignoring defense of enemies. So once again, the signature weapon will certainly enable Galbrena to perform at her best and deal the most damage, which is more than enough of a reason to pick up the weapon if you weren't already due to its incredible design. However, especially with the fact the only premium alternatives are the Last Dance and Woodland Aria, which are necessarily the best alternatives since they don't really provide the greatest effects, it means there's more of a reason to consider the Lux and Umbra for Galbrena than other signature weapons for most characters. Now between them, the Last Dance will of course provide the most value considering the ridiculous crit damage main stat, but the resonant skill damage bonus via the passive on the other hand wouldn't provide that much value. The Woodland Aria also really isn't the greatest since it's tailored in more for a sub DPS than a main DPS. But at the very least, there is a 36% crit rate main stat to ensure more frequent critical hits. Alongside those, there is the Static Mist as the last 5-star alternative, which again is more suited for a sub DPS like the Woodland area but does provide some value through the crit rate main stat. So really, the last dance would be the best 5-star alternative to utilize if you don't have the signature. But if not that and neither of the other 5-star options, then the Solar Flare Battle Pass pistols would be the next best alternative option, considering it is pretty much tailor-made for Galbrena and can still offer solid value as a 4-star weapon, due to the crit rate main stat and solid attack and heavy attack damage bonus through the passive. So all in all, there are a handful of alternatives that Galbrena can utilize, but it's fair to say none of them come close to the value the Lux and Umbra would be able to provide. It goes without saying the weapon doesn't have the greatest versatility due to having a passive locked behind dealing echo skill damage, but for Galbrena at least will be a fantastic weapon that enables her to deal incredible damage. Overall, Galbrena is likely going to be an extremely fun DPS, which would also be capable of dealing massive amounts of damage and synergize within multiple compositions. Of course, with that said, she will only be able to maximize the buffs from her kit alongside resonators that deal multiple instances of echo skill damage, but most likely will still be able to perform great alongside the monofusion composition and heavy attack damage amplifiers. Above all, Galbrena should release as quite a powerful main DPS, and so if you are looking to pick up a new main DPS, either to clear all endgame content or to simply pick up a new main DPS that would be quite fun to play with, Galbrena likely will be a fantastic addition to your account when considering the overall package. Although it is worth considering the fact Qiuyuan in specific will be the best in slot sub DPS, and so with releasing right after in the second phase, it means it will be quite difficult to achieve Galbrena's max potential since both characters do release back to back. Once again, you wouldn't necessarily need to reach max potential considering she would be able to deal enough damage, but long term it would be wise to consider also picking up Qiuyuan if you intend to utilize Galbrena for a while. To finish it off, it is also worth mentioning that since we are approaching the end of the 2.x version updates, it means we are much closer to the release of version 3.0, which is expected to be quite the deal and will release even more powerful characters, ultimately leading to being best for most players to consider saving rather than spending on characters you may like instead of need. But as always, considering each character in WuWa has great longevity, you can still definitely pick up Galbrena and make great use out of her for quite some time. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Would really appreciate it if you could subscribe for more WutheringWaves content, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. Also, drop a comment down below on whether you are going to be pulling for Galbrena alone or with a signature weapon, or will you be skipping? And yeah, I hope to catch you guys later.